scheduled for an international tribunal summit to begin in the late summer, early fall of 2023. Those tribunals are going to put on display for the world to see all of these criminals at the very top, the godfathers, if you will, the syndicate who began this campaign to exterminate and depopulate mankind. But to arrive there, we have many different levels of justice. We have many different levels of treason that has occurred in all levels of society. And so we've been going around getting these cockroaches from every level. Some of them have pleaded out. Some of them we said no and would not give them a deal. Some have agreed to play a role. Others are simply stonewalling. But as we accelerate through the end, through the winter season and into the next year, we're going to see a significant exposure of all of this to the general public so that we can arrive at the point for everyone for that tribunal set up in mid-2023. Here in the United States, we've had several different levels of tribunals held both in the Guantanamo Bay military prison just south of the United States and then in the vassal state known as the District of Columbia. The White House actually here in the United States has been used as a military prison and an execution chamber for these sorts of criminal events. But some of these individuals are going to receive multiple tribunals. They're going to receive tribunals for election treason. They're going to receive tribunals for constitutional violations. They're going to receive tribunals for war crimes, but they're also going to receive a final tribunal for their complicity, their part in carrying forth the agenda to exterminate mankind. I cannot confirm Hussein Obama as being dead or not. I have a sneaking suspicion that he may be being saved for last due to his part in setting up the world for a nuclear holocaust and kind of teeing up the 16-year plan to take down America and the world for HRC. Now, interestingly, HRC was detained on 9/11/2016. She was arrested November the 1st of 2017, and she was put to death on 12/31/2018 at Guantanamo Bay. And I have a photo of that shortly after the execution was handled. President 45 actually witnessed that execution that night. We have some of these people that are being played by doubles, and that's not uncommon. A lot of listeners have a hard time thinking, oh my gosh, doubles. Everyone has doubles for security. Politicians have doubles all of the time. This is really just sort of another order of the day, but for a different purpose. As we go forward, we're going to get a lot of disclosure about who the really, really bad ones were that we could not let live. And so we put doubles or actors in their place versus the ones who we captured, but we saved to show the rest of the world. I think Hussein Obama may be in that latter category. The digital army was something that these puppet masters at the very top never accounted for. This was a true slip in judgment if there ever was one. I use it in my email signature. There's a Q drop that says Patriots Worldwide just needed a spark. This has never been attempted before, and the success rate that we've had with this operation as far as waking up the masses while we simultaneously do the heavy lifting in the background, it couldn't be at a higher level. Broadcasts like this, by virtue of their existence, shows us that we have essentially won this war. We're just waiting for these last moves to play out. They're finished. Their control structure was dependent upon deception and being able to hide. The depopulation agenda was certainly dependent upon control of the narrative, control of information. All of that has been lost. They have completely lost control. That's one of the reasons we're seeing such erratic behavior from the governments of Australia and other governments in the world. They don't know what to do next. These are mid-level minions who don't typically pull the strings. They're typically given orders, a set of commands to march to, and that's exactly what they do. We've been given the illusion, at least here in the United States, that we have, multiple parties going back and forth, peddling ideas and attempting to compromise, and that's never been the case. The true intentionality of whatever has happened in government was decided behind secret doors long ago. For the first time in history, that is no longer the case. Those plans that were made in secret have been disappointed. Now they're attempting to make new plans to retain their control on power while also saving themselves. And a great deal of them simply have no idea what to do. Those are the core issues, right? Those are the issues that once people awaken to them, the unification will be instantaneous. When the entire world comes to fully understand the level of satanic ritual abuse, there will be no need for unification. It will already happen. There's an innate human instinct to protect one's young and protect the young of others. It's been extremely difficult to get to that level of awakening because the MK Ultra programming that we've all been dealing with for decades at this point, all of our lives, is extraordinarily effective. That program is a psychological mind control based operation. It's based out of research taken from the World War II Nazi Program Ultra. Program Ultra was a trauma-based state manipulation, mental state manipulation program that allowed for essentially suggestive mind control. It was expanded upon, and then those principles were added to media, entertainment, news outlets, etc. in the late 80s to mainstream media all around the world. And so we've been bathed in a very steady diet of fear-based programming, trusting the experts in government, etc., trusting modern medicine, those sorts of things for a very long time. People have made life decisions based off of this advice. People have vaccinated their children based off of what their doctor told them, or what a fear porn-based ad on the television told them. And so breaking through that is really the first step, and that is the most difficult part. Now, once we get them through that doorway, we can begin giving them greater and greater truths. I never lead with satanic ritual abuse. I typically lead with monetary corruption, government's intentionality to maintain its own, issues that are sort of intuitively understood by everyone. And then we connect the dots a little bit. Once we get through that, we kind of work into that, then we can start introducing people to those heavy awakening topics, which are the ones that Q tells us the enormity of what is coming will shock the world. And it will. I discovered that a company called Cinemix or Synomix, I'm not sure the pronunciation, was using a product called Human Embryonic Kidney 293 that was in every single soft drink ever manufactured. That blew me away so completely that it shattered the MKUltra programming that I had grown up with. It forced me into a state of intense confusion and angry confusion. And that led to a search for answers where I essentially made the personal statement to myself, and I think most people on the awakening journey have, I will now accept just about anything because I've seen what is possible. As we go through this process, everyone kind of sort of awakens at their own pace. But those of us who awoke, especially when the COVID crime happened and we could see right through it, there's an element of distrust that all of us had to begin with, right? There was an element of something's not right here and the government's never friendly, and we all sort of intuitively knew that. The sleepers are coming around to learn that, to question that narrative programming so that they can begin a search for genuine truth. When you engage the cognitive aspects of the brain, you override the limbic fear process. That fear process is an extremely effective form of control, but it's very weak. Whenever it's broken through, it essentially melts entirely. As we've gone through this process, confusion, discomfort, pain, upset, those sorts of things, you eventually have these sleepers, they arrive at a point where it's like, what is going on? I just don't understand. That's what this whole operation is about. We all have to arrive sort of simultaneously around the world as a one, we the people, to this awakening that our governments not only were they not there for us, but they were actually out to kill us. It's a very serious point to arrive at, but once you arrive at it and you process it, the true awakening can begin. America has been infiltrated in a very similar fashion. We're talking about 4,003 counties here in the United States, the grand majority of which, and by that I mean well over 3,900, run by Soros-funded entities. The corruption is at every level. It's all the way down to the local level. It's always, the people with the largest purse strings pulling the shots, so to speak. Judicial appointments here in the United States, a great deal of the federal judiciary prior to President Donald J. Trump was blackmailed, bribed, or installed. Hussein Obama managed to install 2 extraordinarily communist traitor Supreme Court justices here in the United States. And that's an enormous amount of power to wield. Chief Justice John Roberts, a former Knight of Malta and member of a secret society and implicated in a child trafficking ring with former Vice President Mike Pence. This infiltration goes all the way up to the top, and it spreads out over every county in the United States and also countries around the world. The CCP has spent the last 30 years doing nothing but infiltration. The CCP has sort of kind of been the public-facing base of operations, if you will, for this worldwide cabal that's actually headquartered out of Switzerland. And they have been planting espionage assets, secret police, informants, infiltrates, etc., in all levels of society in the free world everywhere for the better part of